Namaskar and hello everybody, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Chapaka Madhvi, Senior Consultant, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India, and today I will be speaking on the topic Institutions, Policy Making and Resource Management. I will divide my lecture into two parts. First, the theoretical aspect and thereafter the application orientation of the theory in real time situation on the concepts of institution, policy making and resource management. Let us understand three things here. First, the concept of resource management. Second, the stakeholder analysis in resource management, and third, the institution for resource management and policies making. We will navigate the learning outcomes by explaining and understanding the concept of resource management. Second, analyzing the role of stakeholders in resource management, and third, critically analyzing the bureaucratic practices and methodologies in resource management. Let us now get into the aspect of concept of resource management. What is the concept of resource management? Alright, let us understand that resource management is a technique of human interference in the process of their interactions with the management of scarce natural resources. Human beings since inception have been using their mental abilities and intellectual faculties to transform objects around them into resources for their usages. Their mental abilities are manifested in the overall technical advancement which the humankind have achieved. Higher the technical advancement, the better and efficient is the way to use the objects around them in a manner to satisfy their basic and growing human needs. With an eye on the future needs, the management seek to address the present need of economic growth, and natural resource management refers to the management of natural resources such as land, water, soil, plants and animals with a vision on the future availability and present consumption pattern. This has been said by Chaplin in 2009. Natural resource is the backbone of human activities. It derives the human political economic needs. Individuals and organizational at various levels are engaged in resource appraisal, and this is done with a blind eye on future needs of upcoming generations, placing the efficient and equitable principle on the forefront. This sort of management is to be done. The states across the globe have invested heavily on economic means to facilitate resources interaction by means of technology. The industrial setup by the growing capitalist economies have facilitated the unsustainable extraction of renewable resources. This has led to unprecedented damage to the environment at large. The growth of reliance on the natural resource have turned the attention of the policy makers to the concept of sustainability, and the need therefore is to look for the alternate source of energy measures. But the research on the management of resources are quite meagre to provide an academic space for alternate source of resource management. The need of resource management dates back to Malthusian fear of resources getting exhausted with the rising human population. Malthus wrote that the increase of population is necessarily limited by the means of subsistence. That population does not variably increase when the means of subsistence increases, and that the superior power of population is suppressed by moral restraint, vice and misery. This was said in Malthus in 1978. The Malthusian paradox of incapability of the humankind over the metaphysical resource depletion was challenged by Marx, who said that resources are not independent of the historical and cultural reality of human and the absence of private ownership, which would account for the resource appraisal. To elucidate the Marxist perspective, the critique to Malthusian paradox of resource, we need to explain the following terminology. First, subsistence. Unlike Malthus, who regards subsistence as absolute, Marx says that subsistence is a process which is relative. Marx says that needs are not a creation of metaphysical outlook of humans, but are entirely the manifestation of cultural and economic makeup of the surroundings. But one point, both Marx and Malthus agreed that needs are created through material subsistence in the society. The needs and wants are the manifestation of economical mode of production. Thus, subsistence is defined in terms of Malthusian law of population by the mode of economic production in the society. There is a direct link between the subsistence level and the capitalist means of production. The second aspect, resources. Resources are defined in terms of its utility to humans. Resources can be determined only with respect to cultural make up of the society in which the staff has turned or the objects have turned into resources. The making of resource is the combination of technological developments and the cultural makeup of people. Resources are the part of realist agenda of state, making that deliberately challenges the indigenous right over the resource of the people and their resource management technique, which are environmentally sustainable. The third aspect is scarcity. The metaphysical aspect of looking back at the concept of scarcity has made the concept of scarcity as one which has its origin in the nature itself. The delinking of scarcity from human activities have turned the concept of scarcity into metaphysical narrative. Scarcity images the existence of future market, and with the goal to distribute and accumulate capital, scarcity in particular field is created. Scarcity has a lot to do with the resource control and management rather than on biochemical nature of the resources. Several of the scarcities around the world are created by human and are human made. Organizations such as creation of scarcity ensures the monopoly of a particular corporation which works in the field of the resource. Scarcity is of utmost importance for the survival of capitalism. The contradiction of overproduction and the inability of capitalist system to absorb the surplus led to the creation of scarcity. This has been said by Harvey. The resource management is purely human, cultural and material response to the change in means of production. The history of societal development has seen change in human perception with respect to resources appraisal. From feudalism to the modern ultra form of capitalism, management in the field of natural resource has been shifted from being purely ruling class agenda to the concerns of every human, and every humans are yet to be born on earth, and even for humans that are yet to be born on earth. In this perspective, resource management has to be the scope for the development of collective human consciousness. It needs to be realized that the management can no longer be a cause of conflict, rather it should encourage the community participation for the sustainable development of humankind. Let us move to the second concept, which is stakeholder analysis in resource management. Resource management is accomplished by the combined effort of individual, society and the state. These stakeholders have the function designed with respect to their location in a given spatial temporal dimension. The development of stakeholder analysis is a field of resource management has cropped up due to the conflict among different interest groups with respect to the resources. The interest group demands are more human perspective for resource management, which is a contradiction to the realist approach developed by states. Further, the resource management projects that have concerned the role of different stakeholders like the participation of local people in management agenda have turned the management program into a fruitful exercise both for the management bodies and for the non-state actors. The stakeholder frame of analysis defines the group of people who have interest linked with resources. It solves the disputes which might arise among the different stakeholders. The stakeholders cut across a group of various people and various organizations both at central or at the local level. This has been said by Grimble in 1998. Now, who is a stakeholder? Now, let us focus on the concept of who is a stakeholder. The process of natural resource management is a tedious task, and it involves people of different interest group and the institutional structure in the management process. The management has to consider the geographical cycles operating in the atmosphere. As all the cycles operating in the geographical space are interrelated, and this is to say that a change in one of them is likely to affect the change into the another. The need of better resource management mechanism is to look for all the geographical factors and its influence on the people and the organizational role played by the state and non-state actors. Besides, an eye on the natural processes, the natural resource management program has to look at on the political economic structure behind to build in the society. The management program also has to involve the anti-state social structures that would cater to the unhindered management processes. The involvement of large number of stakeholders in the management processes, there are chances of resource related conflicts. The need therefore is of pro-people approach to resource management, taking into account the needs of different interest groups. Any disputes need to be settled amicably. Neither the resources management should be too bureaucratic to skip the people's needs and aspirations, nor it should be left to the peril of the people with no indigenous means of resource management. It should be kept in mind that resource development and management is a collective task of the human being, but there are certain interests which should not be compromised. The development of few at the cost of many unpeople is certainly not a better management of resource. Rather, it is a mismanagement of resources. This has been said in Chomsky 2011. This mismanagement may lead to acceleration in the primitive means of accumulation, but this is done always at the cost of dispossessing the poor and vulnerable. Thus, there is an urgent need of identity. The stakeholders of the natural resources falling in conflicts are bound to arise, as we have already experienced in the movements in India circle around forests, land and water. Investigation for the stakeholders analysis requires collecting data of all sorts that help in building the framework for research related analysis. The best way to collect such data is through primary survey. The first hand information regarding the people concerned for resource management is through one-to-one collection. Field data are more efficient in their data collection. For resource management, unlike formal system which relies on secondary means of data collection for the purpose of resource management. Qualitative as well as quantitative information on the resource management process has to be brought for the purpose of resource management. Questions have to be framed in the light of interest which the community have with regard to resource management. The following questions has to be framed with regard to the natural resource management framework. Questioning the knowledge of the people and highlighting the lack of knowledge in the fields, and also to question the correctiveness of their activity. The correctness. What sorts of improvement in the field of resource management would they like to see? What do they think about the proposed management solution offered by the research? What are the actual perceived costs and benefits to the stakeholder, including opportunity cost or benefits foregone? Is there a distribution of cost and benefits deemed to be fair? Who is seen to win and who is to lose? How could the research proposals be improved from the stakeholders' point of view? And what would he or she be willing to pay at the sacrifice for those improvements, which is labor, compromise with other stakeholders? Stakeholder methodologies in natural resource management are in other stages is a need for cross-checking. Stakeholders can be asked about their views on other stakeholders, use of resources and how he or she interacts with other stakeholders over the use and management of that resource. Such approaches may be particularly important for certain topics. Example, a group which might not mention their own involvement in illegal activities, but may be willing to talk about illegal activities of other groups. Now, third, let us look into the application and use of stakeholder analysis in resource management. I would say that when a stakeholder, for instance, a bureaucrat makes use of the institutions to formalize a policy, keeping in mind the available and scarce resources with scientific techniques, tools and technologies, with continuous real-time data analysis of the natural as well as human resources, here is the commencement of sustainable development. Stakeholder analysis is particularly useful for analysis of natural resource management. This approach takes into consideration the different interest groups, wherein the issues characterized by holders' interests in the physical and other anthropological field have resulted into cross-cutting of system across the political, economic and legal sanctions. Problems and its solutions, if they are likely to affect large number of stakeholders at regional, local and state level. Multiple usage of resources can be assured only by stakeholders analysis. This sort of management encourages various actors like that of the indigenous people to facilitate resources management in the indigenous manner. Subtractability and temporal trade-offs of natural resources such as soils and water may be non-renewable or gifts of nature which can be depleted or contaminated, but cannot be created. Some resources such as aquifers may be subtractable, and appropriation of the resources may adversely affect future supply. Natural resource management is often conducted in the context of degrading resource base which threatens future welfare, a fact which gives rise to difficult questions concerning optimum rates and exploitation and conservation. Multiple objectives. Natural resources are subject to potential crucial differences between economic, social and environmental concerns at the best interests of different stakeholders. Potential differences include those between wider society and local people. Unclear and open access, property rights where traditional management systems are breaking down as a result of demographic, economic, political pressures. Property rights are often unclear. In these situations, economically rational actions of individual resource users may not be compatible with community interests, leading to degradation. especially in the case of a tribal in the third world whose property rights are dubious. This has led to dispossession for the sake of imperial capitalistic expansion. Negative externalities where impacts are in part of sight or delayed, individual decision makers will not bear the full cost of their actions and market distortions occur. Thus, prices do not reflect true values and inadequate weight is given to future flow of benefits, example the future generations, and off-site costs, example downstream impacts. Note now, however, that not all externalities are negative. Soil eroded from upland slopes may replenish the fertility of fields below as well, and silting up dams and irrigation systems. Untraded products and services, natural resources may produce multiple products and perform a variety of natural functions and services that are not traded competitively and have no monetary value in the marketplace. Where they are traded, prices are likely to reflect only in the cost of extraction rather than resource value itself or the cost of depletion. This applies to the most water, forest and grazing resources and the greater part of the world's biological diversity. The growing imperialist exploitation of the third world countries, which comprise of the poorest of the poor, has caused a snatching of agency with regard to resources appraisal. This has been also said by R.W. Grimble, 1997. The imperial appropriation of resources has called for a stakeholder based analysis that concern resource management. Let us now look into the role of institutions for resource management and policy making. Policy making regarding the management of natural resources is done at different levels, namely international and at state or individual country levels. Right from local community based groups to the United Nations organs, policy making regarding the management has been vacillating from being bureaucratic centric to a collective act of resource appraisal. These policies are largely oriented towards sustainable development goals set up by the United Nations. On the international arena, for instance, UN has set up several special bodies with the view to manage the scarce natural resources, out of which the most important body is the International Union of Conservation of Nature, that is IUCN. It is composed of both the state government and the various non-state actors who have been working in the field of resource management. The institution provides tools so as to increase the people's participation in the management and the conservation of resources. It has world's largest network of institutions. It harnesses the experience of resources and reach up to 1,300 member organizations and the input of some 16,000 experts. IUCN is the premier institution that safeguards the natural resource around the globe. It provides a platform for the interaction of governments, NGOs, business, local communities, indigenous peoples, faith-based organizations and others can work together to forge, implement solutions and environmental challenge. This can also be seen at the IUCN website. The UN General Assembly passed a proposal called SDGs, that is the Sustainable Development Goals. The proposal contains methods to check the global poverty and climate control. These methods seek to achieve sustainable development with an idea to maintain the resource efficiency. The SDG program includes ending hunger and poverty, improving health and education, making cities more sustainable, combating climate change and protecting oceans and forests. To achieve proper management at different levels, UN at its organizational level has the intergovernmental negotiations on the post-2015 development agenda, that is IGN, which began in January 2015 and ended in August 2015. Following the negotiations, a final document was adopted at the UN Sustainable Development Summit September 25, 27, 2015 in New York, USA. The title of the agenda is Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. We can also have the matter in the web links of the United Nations SDG goals. In India too, resource management is done by Natural Resource Management Division of ICAR that conducts researches to facilitate technological development for research management and sustainable utilization of the natural resources, ensuring food, nutritional and environmental security in the country through 16 research institutes, 10 in all India coordinated research projects, 3 network projects and 2 consortia research platforms, namely water and conservation agriculture with a wide network of cooperating centers and state agriculture universities. The NRM conducts research programs in various fields, that is soil inventory and characterization, integrated of soil water nutrient management, watershed management, resource conservation, technologies, crop diversification, integrated weed management, integrated farming system including agroforestry, dryland farming, arid coastal and hill agriculture, abiotic stress management, climate resilient agriculture, conservation agriculture, wastewater utilization, solid waste management and application of nanotechnology to enhance nutrient and water use efficiency. the division work in researches which have the link to the farmer's cost effective, environmental friendly and socially acceptable use of the resources for the agriculture. So, now let us summarize that. Okay, first, the natural resource is the management of natural resources such as land, water, soil, plants, animals with a vision on its future availability and present consumption pattern. Second, the resource management is purely a human, cultural and material response to the change in means of production. Third, natural resource management should be done in a way which best satisfies the need of each and every person having their interest in particular resource. Neither it should be too bureaucratic to escape the people's needs and aspirations, nor it should be left at the peril of the people with no or indigenous means of resource management. It should be kept in mind that resource development and management is the collective task of human being, but there are certain interests which should not be compromised. Right from the local community based groups to the United Nations organs, policy making regarding the management has been vacillating from bureaucratic centric to a collective act of resource appraisal. These policies are largely oriented towards sustainable development goals set by the UN. At the national arena, the Government of India, within all the ministries and departments, policies are being revised or formulated keeping in mind the natural and human resource parameters to suit sustainable development. The bureaucrats, which are also highly skilled human resources of the country, steer this process to ensure that future policies, programs and interventions of the government match the human needs. State of art technologies are being used now by the bureaucrats by means of geographical information systems or GIS and geospatial analysis of the resources available with the scientifically enabled techniques of data analysis to ensure that sustainable development is achieved. Real-time dashboards are being created at every level to ensure data is being fed continuously. Wherever this technology is absent, the resource management thus falters at any level. And finally, when a stakeholder, for instance, a bureaucrat, makes use of the institutions to formalize a policy, keeping in mind the available and scarce resources with the scientific techniques, tools and technologies, and with continuous real-time data analysis of the natural as well as human resources, here is a commencement of sustainable development, or institutions that undertake intelligent policy making with scientific methodologies with optimum use of geographic information systems, then actual and sustainable resource management is sustainable and attainable. Thank you. Namaskar.